A group of international health experts recently published a report calling for a strategy to mandate better indoor air quality in public spaces. And of course, the private indoor spaces of our homes, equally, if not more important, for how much time we spend there. So let's talk about it. Hey everybody, it's Dr. David. So as many of you know, I'm a board certified pediatrician in Tampa, and I have spent many years focusing on the things that go into our body and how do we make sure that we are minimizing toxicity, as well as our abilities to do the best job we can in removing toxins themselves. Now, today we're going to be talking about why I have this interest in the clean air, the problem that we've been having with clean air indoors and what we're breathing in, as well as this recent report put up forth by these experts, specifically talking about the problem as well as strategies that can help. It's really nice to see that they're looking at this level, that many of the concerns we've had overall are being finally addressed in public healthcare spaces. Now, for the past 2 decades, I have been focusing on certain things, especially what goes into our body. Things like clean food, organic food, right? Non-pesticides. Clean water. We've talked about things like different toxins in water, nanoplastics, etc. We've talked about clean supplements, the importance of making sure that there are no pesticides and heavy metals and other things in our supplements, and of course, clean air as well. And of course, the impact on all of this can be tremendous because what's going into our body impacts our cellular function on every level. Now, there is this recent publication, and it was called Mandating Indoor Air Quality for Public Buildings, a Vital Public Health Strategy. Okay. And again, it's so nice to do this. And notice that the word they use vital there, which I think is super important because that obviously speaks to the incredible importance and need to make sure that we are putting clean air into our body. Now, in terms of the problem itself, and this is what was identified in the report, especially when people are living in urban or more industrialized societies. Most people spend at least 90% of their time indoors. And that's true whether it's in a workspace, whether it's in a school, of course, in our homes as well, other places that we go to. And so the air outside, obviously, much more ventilation out there, etc. But when you're in a more closed space, then, of course, the impact of what the air is going to have more on each of us individually. Now, despite the years of research and advocacy on this, most countries, they don't have any legislation that calls for any kind of mandates looking at measuring, modifying clean air quality. Okay. And of course, not just in terms of ventilation, but in terms of the purity of the air itself. There are very few building codes that are in place that looks at not just the original building, the operation, the maintenance and retrofitting, because of course that's important for not new structures, is can we retrofit spaces in order to make the air more clean? Now, COVID itself made a big difference, and I think in the way a lot of people look at things, and not on the individual basis, but even governments. When we were talking first about making sure we have proper ventilation and filtration systems, and making sure that if we were in closed spaces, that we were much more likely to get infected by COVID, etc. So, I think that this became much more on the mind of the average person as a result of the pandemic. Now, and what they've talked about is, what impact did that have on everything from, human health? They question about the effects on well-being, productivity, and even learning. And there's research that has been shown that, clean air brings optimized learning situations as well. Now, the authors of this paper itself, they propose that indoor air quality standards should be mandatory for public spaces. Mandatory. Okay. And again, for public spaces, in private spaces, it's obviously more hard to mandate anything, which of course makes sense, but it still doesn't mean that shouldn't be a goal of ours because although the homes, they have to be designed, they have to be equipped in the same manner of what they're talking about. And obviously that's more on us, what we do individually, because the government is not going to come in to tell us how is to mandate to us that we have to have these particular kind of filters or this type of ventilation, etc. Now, in addition to that, If there are some countries, especially countries like America, etc., that lead by example, then standards may be increasingly normalized for everywhere in the world. So hopefully this will not just be a report that lands on some counter somewhere or in some library somewhere, but someone actually takes a look in to see what we can do about this. Now, in terms of practical solutions, let's talk about those things, because there are things that we can be doing, whether it's in the public space or in the private space of our homes. First thing, making sure that there's good ventilation, that there's good quality air that's ventilating and circulating through filtrations outside, etc. So there is this standard that's been set by these authors, talking about 30 cubic feet per minute per person as the target, as the ventilation rate. Now, in all honesty, I have no idea how people measure that, but this is the type of thing that people in the HVAC specialists, etc., can monitor how much ventilation that there's going through. And of course, certain types of equipment is rated as such. So, of course, you have to have not good quality air, also not just good quality air, but the ventilation system. The air has to be very frequently circulating. We know that in hospitals, in operating rooms, there are certainly in clean rooms, there are certain standards that are ready to be put out there that we know about. So how do we bring those more into society as a whole? Okay, now, of course, there's things that we can do, such as testing the air itself. Carbon dioxide levels have been shown when they're higher up, they're more likely to have issues with the air not circulating well, because obviously that's part of what happens when we breathe out carbon dioxide. And of course, if we're getting good ventilation of oxygen, then the carbon dioxide levels will leave and we'll have more oxygen. But carbon monoxide as well. That's another thing that people can monitor for both circulation. Of course, we know that carbon monoxide itself can bind to our hemoglobin and can impact the ability of oxygen to be transported through the body. Okay, we can measure things like mold. Right, we can measure toxins for mold. We can look into our air ducts and look for mold. So, there are different ways that we can be testing to see that we have the best quality air possible. Now, next, filtration. Okay, so you may have remembered during COVID, and like air conditioned filters, they're rated by MERV, minimum efficiency reported values. Okay, and what this is the filter's ability to capture large particles that are between 0.3 and 10 micrometers or microns. Okay, the higher the number, the better. And it's important to know that you can't just go out and just buy the highest MERV. You have to make sure that the handler of your air conditioned system is rated for that, because the higher the MERV, the smaller the filtration particles are. So the more potential work that an air handler has to do to push and suck the air through the smaller holes versus bigger holes. Now, as far as so as far as that, check with the manufacturers, because they can easily tell you your book, you're online. I'm sure you can find that as well. But make sure you check for your particular unit. Now, we've talked about HEPA filters before. Now, HEPA filters, those are really more helpful for things like allergens, okay? Allergies and asthma patients especially. There are HEPA filters that people can put in just a particular room. Of course, they do have ones that, of course, cost money, that can be through the whole filtration system as a whole. Another thing that one then can be doing is ultraviolet light, and that it can kill many organisms, the effects of mold, but also viruses, other things in circulation, especially in public healthcare. Public buildings as well. Activated carbon. These can gather up VOCs, volatile organic compounds, lots of things off gas. If you've ever painted your house, you've probably seen a lot. Paints are now no VOC or low VOC. Those toxins that can come out of the paint that can cause health problems, respiratory problems as well. In addition to that, it can just absorb all kinds of gaseous pollutants, as well as odors. So obviously, if you smell something funky in odor, there's probably something funky going on in your air. So of course, anything that you can do to bind that, and that's what activated carbon, like activated charcoal, can do. Dehumidification. The higher the humidity, the more that it allows mold to grow. So keeping the dehumidification lower can decrease the likelihood that mold will flourish in a particular space. Now, of course, if there is mold found, then of course remediation, and that can be done through the air, through the filtration, like we've talked about. But of course, sometimes you do need to actually, if it's within the walls, if it's within the ceilings, you may have to do some construction remedies in order to make sure that that's out of the house altogether. Okay, so there's a lot that we can be doing to impact our health. Over on our Patreon, if you become a subscriber, if you're already there, I am talking there about some of the specific things that we do in our home in terms of different types of technologies that we use, that I have found to be most helpful after doing my research. So if you're not a Patreon member, consider signing up, and then you can see that over there. And of course, we have our information education stations there. We have my holistic protocols that we typically just share with my patients. We have that there as well. So there's a lot of perks in becoming a Patreon member. So hopefully you'll do that as well. Anyways, hope you now have learned some about how to make your air more clean. And I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.